Hey, in this video, I want to talk to you about Matthew Power's essay in the Men's Journal called The Cult of Chris McCandless. So remember, the big job here is for someone to create interest, maintain it, and reward it. And one of the ways to do that is just find the right topic to write about, something that's almost inherently interesting. So Chris McCandless is that way. It actually happened. You should Google that name and read about the story. I hope you did that before you read the essay. Read about the young man, see what happened. Then you read Matthew Power and um, see what he does with this, because a lot of things have already been written on Chris McCandless. They've made a movie about him, and they made a book. Okay, so the approach that I'm going to, excuse me, just a second. Um, Chris McCandless has already come and gone. The story is with us now, becoming more than just a historical story. Um, there's a book on it by John Krakauer, and then there's a movie, and Matthew Powers knows this. All right, Matthew Powers wants to write about Chris McCandless, but he's not going to retell the story just qua story or as the story, because so many people have already beaten him to this in ways he cannot match. He's just writing an article here. There's a great book on it, and there's a great movie on it. Why would he try to? So there is a sense that there's a new McDonald's, somewhere being built right now, or just put the name of the current leading fast food store. The idea is, well, we might need a retelling of the story for a younger generation that doesn't know what happened here. So there might be a sense where they might not know about the book even or the movie, and Matthew Powers has a certain audience that might need that retelling. So if he were just simply to do a retelling of the story, it still might be something that the editors might want to publish. But there's something else that's going on here. And I would suggest this to you as a technique for you and your paper. Now, in these videos, I'm trying to say, hey, consider this essay. What's the technique here? Besides the big job of creating interest, maintaining it, rewarding it, what is the structure or the technique, the the formula, if you will, that the author is using for this particular essay? I don't like to use the word formula, but the plan. Um, and for this one, I'm going to say the update. Okay, the update. This story has happened in the past, and major stories about it are already in the past. Okay, but where is the story now? You see what I'm saying? And if Matthew Powers can show you now that they've airlifted the bus out of Alaska, that they've made a museum for it, that people are coming and looking into the museum, if he can talk about that now, if he can talk about the way the book was written, he's not going to talk to you about the subject of the book itself, because that's Chris McCandless and the book covers that fairly well. But if he can talk to you about John Krakauer's technique or his goals, right, and about the movie, right, if he can interview Sean Penn and see the conflict that Sean Penn has about this and provide this in the story, you see, you're sort of getting the backstory now of the stories, right? Um, and you're getting a bit more because as the years have passed, people have done different things with Chris McCandless now that the movie and the book didn't cover, because when they finished and went to press or a production, they could not deal with the upcoming years, the future years. But now that those years are here and have passed, Matthew Powers can. So he can say, well, here's the rest of the story, if you will. Okay, so think of all the historical events that you can research that were meaningful to to a city, a state, a region, a state, a nation, and then you can, But the thing is, that point of impact was maybe 4 or 5 or 6 years ago, 3, 4 years ago, and you might be able to go and find out what's going on now. What's the rest of the story? For example, consider with me George Floyd. George Floyd. Um, what is George Floyd up to? You know now. Well, he died. that this was a horrible thing in Minneapolis. All right, but what is that city doing now? What is the lasting impact of this? And you might go and you might research that. All right. Now, if you want to move away from race, what about oh oh my about 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, the public school system of Chicago was caught cheating on standardized tests. I kid you not. You can go look and read this. There was at least one major school that they were just cheating on this, and the administrators were in on it. Everything. They were caught. Where is that school system now? What are the standards like now? And so, that story's already been told, but now you can deal with maybe the after story and what's going on with events now concerning that. You see what I'm saying? So, if you're watching these videos that I have for College Comp 2, you know, you know that one of my earlier videos I talked about complexity, and I also talked about uh, um, how you might have a controversial issue, and the writer of that essay dealing with the controversial issue is kind of undercutting the very detailed or delineated or clear, we versus them um, opposition by saying, hey, these two people are full of self contradictions. Okay, so this method is the rest of the story, the update, if you will, the after story, whatnot. And it looks at an event that is already in the past, and it looks at how the effect of it has disappeared or changed or gotten stronger 4 or 5 or 6 years in, okay, after the fact, or it might be 10 years after the fact. Now, if you want to watch a great movie that illustrates this, I don't think you're going to regret watching this, but you need to watch the movie called I, Tanya. The letter I, comma, Tonya. And it's the story of Tanya Kerrigan, excuse me, Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan, and the famous ice skating rivalry that they had. And there was something pretty malicious that one of them did to the other, created a scandal, ruined somebody's career, and whoever did that movie is now doing this technique, the after story. But he's also, or she's also complicating the stances because he's saying, hey, if when you look at it, their testimony crumbles, just like Program for Love, and then just like Matthew Powers, there are things that they're doing now that is reflective of that event. And here's where they are now. You see what I'm saying? And I feel like this is a good technique for you to do a research. Now you should begin to sense already that these techniques are kind of small. Some of them are able to scale up a little bit better than others. If you do one technique, you might not be able to combine it with another one. And you might not be able to use these techniques because you have a topic or an approach that's not going to lend itself to this. But you need to have these these paths, if you will, these these instructions, maybe separate instruction booklets in your toolbox, if you will, where you can say, hey, if I pick a topic, I might be able to turn it into a simple and complicated. Okay, so that's complication. Or I might be able to show how the public debate is superficial and the arguing parties contradict each other, contradict themselves. And they reveal in real life that this issue is much more complicated than they like to have it seen and presented in media or in words. So that would be taking that controversial topic and showing how even the people that draw up themselves in these very straightforward yes or no camps find themselves sharing some of the practices of the other camp. All right. Now, this other approach here is the after story. And if you realize, hey, I'm working with a topic now that really nobody knows much about what happened after the fact, I can research that. I can research the topic, present the information, and then bring my own voice in by talking about where we are now with this, what's going on now. So I feel like this is another example of a valid approach that you can use to help your research be controlled, to help it have a chance to be something that can create interest, maintain it, and reward it in your reader. Because it's got some sort of structure that allows you to handle it and to work it within the boundaries that you have, which is, around 2,000 words, 2,500 words. So, all right, something to think about. And I think that this approach of the update or the after story is particularly well illustrated in Matthew Powers's, um, The Cult of Chris McCandless. In this case, what people are doing now is turning Chris into an object of worship, if you will. They might not use that terminology, but they're doing a lot of things that are very similar to that. So that's why I think Powers gets away with the word cult in his title. And I would recommend that you also pick up a copy of or find a streaming service that allows you to see I, Tonya, and you can get this approach uh, repeated for you so that you can learn it. All right, thanks for watching.